30. We'll go ahead and call our Loudon City Council workshop to order. It's good to see everyone here. We sure couldn't get this many in our old city hall, that's for sure. So I'm glad to see everyone here tonight. At this time, we'll open up the floor for citizens input. Please be aware of time constraints. There's 15 or 16 items here on our agenda, plus maybe other people that would like to speak. So you don't have to wait till your item comes up if you want to come up at the first and speak about anything on the item. Just please come up to the podium as Mr. Cobb's doing and address the council.
All right, I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to voice my opinions. I'm John Cobb. I'm the owner of Cobb's Auto Parts for 47 years. So I'm very familiar with this town and how it operates, and I love it here. So what my concern is, you're doing away with commercial trash collection to business and industry. That's going to affect 103 accounts in our town, industry and business. And I've always been told when I asked what my city taxes went for, it went for fire protection, police protection, and trash collection. So now then, we're going to be down to 2. And I don't care much about that. I was told also last meeting you had when this first was voted on that Loudon is one of the last communities or cities to offer this. Well, we might be in a minority, but we're not the last. There are others who do still offer this. But even if we are the only one, that's an incentive to get people to come here. I offer a lot of services at my store that other people can't, and it gets me a lot of business. And so I'm proud to be able to offer stuff that other people can't. So I think we should do anything that we can do to incentivize people to come here. We have about 20 empty business buildings in Loudon, storefronts and businesses. There's probably more than that, but I just drove around and counted them randomly. There's about 20 of them or so. And we should be doing things to try to fill those up, to get people to go into business. It's not easy to do that. And the more costs you put on to people who are trying to open a business or to do anything that's going to benefit the community, it's a hindrance to it. And so we don't want to do that. Also, I noticed that the city bought a grapple truck. I'm sure that's nice to have that, you know. There's lots of things that I would like to have in my business, but I can't afford to buy them because I might need other things that keeps my ability to continue the services that I offer. And so maybe you should have bought a garbage truck instead of that, and we wouldn't be where we are now. And finally, now I'm going to read this because I don't want to mess it up. I think that we should have been notified that you were considering eliminating such a vital service and raising our taxes at the same time. The industrial business and the business community pays approximately 85% of all taxes in the city of Loudon. That's a pretty good bit. You know, that allows the people who own homes in our city to have a low tax rate. And so we don't want to do things that's going to hinder that and drive people away. And so I think you need to reconsider this proposal that you have put forward. And I've been told it's already in the budget, so you would have to go back and redo your budget. But I think you should reconsider it. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Anyone else here would like to speak on commercial dumpster?
Hello, I'm Jack Sims from KFC and Taco Bell. Yeah, and I just found out about this today, and I appreciate Mr. Cobb because he's obviously done his research. I'm not sure I can add much to what he's already said, but if we're really contemplating making a change on July 1st, that's $7,000 a year for my business, and it's just me. I mean, it's not like I've got a lot of partners or anything like that. It's just me. So imagine if you had a job and your boss came to you and said, "Yeah, you can keep working here, but it's going to be $7,000 a year reduction in your salary." I mean, most of y'all, I imagine, would go find another job, but I can't do that. I've got a mortgage. I've got debt. I've got a building that's stuck right here in the city limits. And I pay, city sales tax, which is higher than other cities where I do business. And I pay my city property taxes. And like Mr. Cobb, when somebody asks, why are Loudon city taxes higher? I said, well, gosh, we get the trash service. That's a nice benefit. So it's a really big hit for me, and coming that sudden, that's scary. I don't think it's fair. You could phase it in or something like that, but it's not right. It's something that I'm not prepared to pay for, and I don't have in my budget. So anyway, I appreciate your consideration on that. Thank you.
Could I ask you where you came up with the 7,000 now?
It's about about $600 a month. It would be
If you contract with
if you contract with somebody else. Yes. Yeah. Now, yes, that if I had to contract it to an outside
Yes, right.
company with the amount of trash that we generate, the frequency to pick up, it would be about $600 a month, which is $7,200 a year.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Jack.
That's a good question.
Anyone else want to speak about the commercial dumpster?
Thanks for the opportunity. I guess those of you that know me, and all of you know me, I'm a dinosaur. I don't see why they ever raise taxes ever for anything. But, so I'm not the kind of guy who wants to stand up here and yell and get mad. They're all my friends. But yeah, it is a hit. I think, if anything, I would just lobby that in future decisions, those that have the ability to make these decisions would think like an independent businessman. Most of us that live in the city and that own business property in the city will get impacted twice by a property tax increase. Now, that comes with the territory. We didn't have to buy that commercial property. So, but that in itself is sort of a double whammy. And yes, what Pat was saying, there's been a little bit of estimates on dumpsters. I just maintain one, but I've been pushed to get another. And it's probably going to run about in the cost levels he says. So that's a little bit of a hit. But I would say that all I'm asking is in future decisions, think like a retailer. I was one of the ones and there's probably some information that somebody can share that might show that I and some of the others don't know the real depth or some of the behind the scenes stuff that's going on here that requires this. I would admit now to any city or utility employees out here, I was one of the ones that said, well, what's wrong with the old city hall? Why can't you just keep using it just like it is and not spend a dime? And I was educated on that. So there may be things we don't know about what's impacting this. But I would ask you, we independent retailers, and by the way, I serve on the leadership council for the state of Tennessee, NFIB, which is a small business. That's one of the largest lobbying groups in the country. And their information and research nationally as well as the state of Tennessee indicates that small business hires more people in small towns and small counties, especially unskilled laborers and those that are not college educated, than even industry. So we provide new hiring especially in these days is critical. But I would ask that, before we make budget moves, think like a small business person. We don't have the option, to just upgrade and let the taxpayers cover it or the ratepayers. Whenever we want to improve something, we have to come up with a way to do it on our own. So Again, not mad. I've shared with many of you, I'm happy with the direction Loudon's going. I'm excited about our future. I think it's bright. And I think everybody's trying to do the right thing, but this type of thing does make it tough to do business. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else want to speak about commercial dumpsters?
I'm Cliff, see job sales. The only, they pretty much put it all down. The problem I had with it is the big secret that was kept. The way I learned about this, a girl came from Waste Connection and talked to me about a dumpster. What are you talking about? I got a dumpster. She said, when you lie, I think something's going to happen. So, I don't like that part of it.
Thank you, Cliff. Anyone else want to speak about the topic of dumpsters? Okay, anything else on tonight's agenda anyone wants to come address the council?
I would like to clarify on the secrecy. We talked about this during budget talks. We had our budget talk. It was even advertised in the News Herald about our budget meetings and stuff, so it was no secret, none whatsoever.
Was it advertised about taking the commercial trash service away?
We didn't line item everything was going to talk about.
It was secret.
Okay.
As far as commercial dumpsters, I will take a lot of the criticism and blame for that, as we did have a budget meeting, and as mayor, I was, I guess, co-chair or chair of that meeting, and it was, as Councilman Brewster said, it's a lengthy budget, it's a thick budget, a lot of line items. A lot of the focus was on paving, and we looked at that line item and thought we could shift that over. There wasn't a lot of discussion about it, and I think that was wrong. I think the points that were made were correct. That's one reason that I reached out to Manager Ross and asked him to put it back on the agenda for tonight for that very reason. I think it was an incorrect move on our part. I think we should have discussed it more. It should have had a lot more deliberation. And as I think Mr. Carey mentioned, we should maybe think about it from a different mindset. So that's why we're talking about it tonight. So that's why it's on the agenda. So if there's not any other citizens' comments, we will start in on our agenda for commercial waste service. Is there any comments from Manager Ross? He did a preliminary
Yes,
survey.
at your request, Mayor, I provided you some different options. This proposal for changing commercial dumpster service came out of a budget workshop, approximately 5.5 hours, and it took place on May the 15th. It was publicly advertised, and it was held at the request of the council, which asked for, and right perfectly within their right, a line item by line item review of the city budget. There's hundreds of line items, and when we came across this particular line item, there was lots of discussion about the future of this service, why we have it, all valid questions, all questions you would ask if you were a council member. There was somewhat of a consensus coming out of that meeting that the desire would be to redirect those funds for this service towards paving and other projects. And of course, we did get a lot of citizen impact, not just at this meeting, but at telephone calls and visits to council members and here at City Hall. Since that time, I've spoken with most of the council members personally on this topic. I think it is several of their desires to see different options in this realm pursued. I am recommending that a 6-month timeline be put in place so that we can take a sharp pencil to these different options. One option is to not be in the commercial dumpster business. A second option is to leave it alone and keep it exactly the way it is. A third option is to make it a fee-based service, and that's what I think we need more time with, is to see what our total cost is. I've had some good meetings with our Public Works Director, Ellis Scruggs, We're getting our heads around the truck replacement schedule, along with the wear and tear on dumpsters, as well as personnel costs associated with picking up and moving these objects. But I also had great conversations with the accounting department about whether a billing system like this is even feasible given our existing software. So I would propose and recommend a third option, a third way, which would be we take about 6 months to fully vet all these different options, and with your help, because and maybe settle on and put forward an agreed upon program in January. Now, what I would like to do, what I would recommend, is that we, for the time being, separate the commercial dumpster issue from the budget. The budget is a malleable working document. It's a political document. It's a direction. It is a way that we're headed. And what I would like to do is move into the direction of exploration of this service, its value, what it could be charged for or not.
And continue as is for that time period of 6 months that you're talking about, so we can look
Yes, sir.
into it.
Okay, well, I personally want to say, Bo, I don't even know where you are anymore, I'm sorry, hey. I personally want to say you're correct. I was thinking more along the bigger lines. I wasn't thinking about small town retailer, and I'm very sorry for that. I'll apologize to all of you small town retailers. Because when you think commercial dumpsters, you think McDonald's, I mean, you think those bigger chains. Didn't think about the small town retailer, and I'm very sorry about that. So you have my apologies on that. That's a good point, and I appreciate it very much. So nobody received a notice?
Not a single one of us.
No.
Volunteer waste.
Yeah.
No, they just got knocks on their doors or phone calls.
Because
Yeah.
we had discussed that a notice was supposed to be sent out. So I'm very sorry that you all found out that way. That's unacceptable. I'm sorry about that. So, but there was supposed to be a notice sent out, and evidently word got out, and I guess they started knocking on doors first. So, but I'm very much open to reviewing this, and so I'm very sorry that it happened that way, and I apologize to you guys for that.
And that's the main reason it's on here again, because I think that was a hasty decision. Any other comments about it? I want to agree with, or understand Manager Ross's direction.
We come
Okay.
and we'll discuss it more.
Okay. Budget update, Manager Ross.
Yes, it's still budget season. We had previously mentioned budget workshop on May 15th. Lots of fruitful discussion there, including what we're talking about tonight. Like I said, I would like to separate the commercial garbage service issue from the budget. And if we can agree to that separation, I think we're close on our budget. And Stephanie Paconin is our City Finance Director and Recorder. Can you update us on the timeline as far as the budget advertisement and passage of the budget ordinance?
The budget has been advertised. It's set for second reading. The only update is making a few revisions regarding this sanitation, putting that back in the budget for second reading. There's no other changes.
Stephanie, is it true that during these open public reading processes, the budget is changeable and amendable during that time?
It's
It's
the
not.
only ordinance that you can change on before second reading.
So we can address this issue between first and second reading.
Correct. So everything should, as far as I see, everything's on track to finalize the budget next week. And I would like to add that in order to change the solid waste, it would require an ordinance to make that change anyway.
which requires 2 months.
2 months.
Right.
time.
Okay. Thank you. Public safety camp, July 23rd through 25th.
Yes, Chief Brubaker?
Saw him here, yep.
Yeah, I'm just about from vacation. I was out of town last week, and much of this agenda came together in my absence. But, sir, while you're here, could you update this on this brand-new program in public safety?
This is something that other jurisdictions are doing across our state. Most of them are bigger jurisdictions, Chattanooga, Knoxville, out in the western part of the state. But I talked to Chief Webb, talked to Jennifer Estes, the director of the 911 Center, and Travis Estes, the priority ambulance director. And we're going to do a joint venture, a 3-day camp for kids ages 13 through 18. It's going to be totally free of charge. We're going to provide lunch. We're just going to give them an inside look at our world, the world of public safety. And it's the first time. We're hoping for the best. We're allowed 25 kids.
Might recruit some.
There you go.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Chief Brubaker, council, or Chief Webb? Okay. Storm siren update.
Yes, this issue it emerged at a previous workshop, and we've investigated the history of a storm siren. The one we looked at in particular is located on top of a hill, top of Highland Avenue, and it stood beside the water tank up there. And I don't know if Bill Watkins, our electric department director, is here, but he's instrumental in pulling down that piece of equipment. We've taken it inside the electric department for investigation. We've actually brought back a retired employee named Mike Orr. He used to service these instruments back when they were in service, and so the idea is to see if it's still operational, and then go from there. But we're still in the investigation process.
Okay, I think Manager, I'll send out an email about that. If you have any questions about that, I know Councilmember Bivens brought that up, so.
Yeah, that's something I want to bring up. We have the sirens around town. There's I think two of them. And they're there. Do they work? Do they not work? If they don't work, they're kind of unsightly. Let's just get them down off of there. So the whole goal was to see if they work. Sirens are a wonderful aspect to any community to have. But if they don't work, let's get rid of them and go a different route if we need to. So thank you to Bill and to Mike for looking into that. I really appreciate it. So, and maybe somewhere down the point we can maybe form a subcommittee to kind of look into that once we figure out where they're working. I think y'all are in more communication. So once we get some more communication back, I think that would be a good thing to do for our community.
Who's responsible for
Right. We're
setting it off and all that? Okay. Any other discussion on the storm siren? Paid classification plan, that was included in our packet.
It is included in your packet. You'll notice it's similar to past paid classification plans. What I would like to do is highlight for you the major differences. First is across the board, there's a 2% pay increase, and that's for all employees. There is a major change in the Public Works Department. There's the addition of one skilled laborer position. Also, there is an additional position, that of a patrol officer in the police department. There's an across-the-board COLA, and there's 2 new additional positions in the city budget this year.
Okay, thank you, Manager Ross. Any questions about the pay plan and the additional head count that you mentioned? Okay, that'll require a vote, I'm assuming next week, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it passed along with the budget.
Okay.
I did have one question on the city recorder. I know Stephanie's leaving, but the new person coming in, we're gonna give her a $2,000 a month raise. Is that my understanding? The way it reads?
Well, there's a
Yes.
range there.
There's a range there, and she would step into that first first slot, there's
It's a progression.
step up accordingly.
But we're gonna start her out with a $2,000 a month raise. Saying we're paying now $1309.23, and it's gonna bump it up to $1863. Is that, that's a big raise.
So that's just the starting step and the
Oh, it's it.
finish step.
I think I was a little confused over that too. I thought this was what is the now rate and this is the going to rate.
I
This
think
is a
both rates are
startup.
increased. I think both rates are increased 2%. This is the starting rate and that's the ending rate. I don't think this is today's rate and that's what the rate is.
Okay, see, that's how I was.
Yeah, I don't
reading it.
think, I think that's
So how-
the range. They start
See
out
what
and
I'm
they
saying?
progress up.
Okay, so we were reading, I think he saw it the exact same way I did. This would be today's, what she's getting paid today, and this will be what she's getting paid when the new budget cycle comes in.
No, that's a range.
This is a range,
If
this
this,
is the
if
start
this
out
job
pay.
were, if this job were advertised,
Yeah.
which it was,
Yeah,
this would be, this is the starting salary,
that's,
that's the range in pay we look for. You know, ideally, it depends on qualifications as well.
so this is a start and a top out pay.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And the 2%'s in both of those numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, because I looked at that and I had quite a few questions I was going to ask.
So,
Great question.
so how long is the top out period on, let's just take the top line for instance. When does this person get the $2,000 a month rate? Is it 90 days?
Jason, can you step forward on this? This is an HR matter, just want to let Jason get into specific time periods of the steps.
Currently, our city employees have 6 steps. It's usually about a 2-year process to come out after 2 years.
It's in section
There
8.
you go.
It's in section 8.
You're gonna say your
But I want to go back to the salary, sir. Her current salary is in between the entry and that topped out rate, sir. Her current
starting
salary.
pay for the replacement?
Yes, sir. Her current salary is about $1538. So she would start someplace, she would not start at that $1309.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Jason. Any other questions about the pay plan? Okay, county lease agreement. I'd like to recognize Mayor Bradshaw.
Thank you, Mayor Harris, City Council members, Manager Ross. I think Chris and Bob are pretty close on. I think County Attorney Bob Bowman's intending to present the lease agreement at our workshop on the 17th. And so hopefully that'll get us where we need to be. Again, you know how grateful the county is to the patience you all have given us and the welcome we've had and just the ability to keep our operations moving. And so hopefully we'll have that hammered out by the end. Just a couple of updates. NBI has started some, we've seen the drawings and some of the sketches. I've chosen to go with NBI as far as the design and architecture for the new annex on the riverside. And County Commission voted last Monday to give me the authority to go ahead and start moving forward with the acquisition of property for the riverside. City Council still chooses to let the county have that. I put a few, I would just make me feel better. I put a few things in it like that. You know, something along the lines, the county could never sell it. If we did, it would go back to the city, and so just a few safety measures like that. But there'll be somebody different in all these seats one of these days. And so, but I'm more than happy to start that process and move forward with it. And we got RFQs in today as far as refurbishing of the old courthouse. And so we've got 6 or 7 companies that are interested in it. Purchasing Director Susan Husky has those, and I've got some on my desk. You may want to take a look at them. Ultimately, that'll be her decision. That way, that's why state law is written, 57 Act, keep politics out of it. So, but those are, you may want to take a look at those. They're not public record yet, but being stakeholders, you all do have access to those. And like I said, again, the county is just extremely grateful for the generosity that the city has shown. And if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
We going with the 3rd floor?
That'll be ultimately up to county commission. We can toss several things around. We're going to sit down July the 2nd. We'll sit down with stakeholders and just talk about some floor designs. And we're going to start looking at some square space then. I know several have, you all talked about the possibility of moving some county offices in there where it would be a full-time building. And so we're going to entertain those thoughts as well.
Any questions for Mayor Bradshaw? Manager Ross, when do we need to start that discussion about the property, I guess, with, is that something the council needs to?
Yes, it's something the council will need to approve, that real estate transaction. I think we're on the county's timeline here in terms of, when you would need the property. Mayor Bradshaw and I have had some great meetings on this topic, and what Mayor Bradshaw has assured us is that we'll have a place at the design table. And why that's important, and Chief Webb, our police chief, is here. This property is located just right beside the police department on the city's waterfront. And this is on the east side of the Highway 11 bridge, and it's the opposite side of the Hutch property, which we're all working on. And the challenge is that currently it's much of the lot is a gravel parking lot that's utilized by the police department. And the reason we'd like to be involved in the design process of this building is so that when the parking lot and landscaping is ultimately laid out, that our police department could have a shared parking situation.
That's what I think security is a huge issue to address. As we talked about coming in on Main Street right there, restricted access, whether it's a gate, whether it's a fence, whether it's a car, whatever access we have, but county employees, judges, officers, clerks, and then of course police officers having restricted access. I think that would just make both buildings safer. The public would have a separate parking area to where, just security all around. It's a different world we live in than we did 10, 20 years ago.
Plan on having a Sally Port, I guess, do.
Yeah, the new annex is definitely the number one thing we want is a Sally Port, and then we're talking into holding cells because running inmates up the old fire escape, that's a recipe for disaster, and that's something we should never, as a county, we should never go back to.
Right. Now's the chance to fix that.
It is. One thing we talk about is turning this negative at our courthouse fire on 23rd into a positive. I think we'll be able to turn it into a double positive. It's going to benefit both the county as well as Loudon City.
I want to thank Mayor Bradshaw for taking leadership in this role. It really helps when you got something like this, somebody taking control of it. Mayor Bradshaw's done that.
Thank you. Well,
Appreciate your leadership.
this would be in a whole lot different situation, but for you all here. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Mayor and City Council, Manager Ross.
Thank you. So we'll discuss the property acquisition.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Planning Commission rezoning request?
Yes, this is really an FYI. The Planning Commission is meeting Wednesday. Usually, their schedule better accommodates you and they meet before your meeting. But this Wednesday, they'll be considering 130 acres off River Road. It's a rezoning request from R1 to R2. And it goes from a suburban residential type lots to lots that allow for a higher density.
Okay. So, anybody wants to know a lot of the details of that, show up Wednesday at 11:30. And it'll be in this room here. Next item on the agenda is, I think, some items Councilman Brewster asked to be put on there. First one is audit discussion.
I'm thinking with the transition we're going to have in our city recorder that it would probably be a good time to do a forensic audit. I know it's going to cost us a few dollars, but I think we probably need to do that for our own sake. I just need support of the rest of the council on that.
Everyone got the audit in the blue binder? Sure. I've seen that. That's what Councilman Brewster's.
Every year we perform an annual audit, and Councilman Brewster and I met about this afternoon. I think what he is requesting is an audit much more intense with much more detail. It costs more time and money to produce. The process for that would be to, number one, select a firm to do it, and then contract with that firm, bring the contract back to you all for your approval.
Any questions about that? Attorney Fry, would you be the one, would you find that you'd be the one locating someone to do it?
No, that would be the city manager or the accounting director.
Okay. So that would require a vote, I guess, next week for that, to go that way, to go to do an audit.
Is this something we want to do next week, or do we want to bring it? I think, ideally, you would want to advertise this, maybe in the form of an RFQ. That's not a requirement, that's just a best practice, but.
Do we need to vote to give you authority to do that? Or
No, I think I do have the authority to solicit and bring
Then you just bring
vendors that I would recommend to.
and you bring that back to us then?
I can do that, but I cannot do that next week. We
Here?
could definitely do that this year.
Okay, let's just do that then. I didn't know if you needed a vote to pursue it, to do the RFQ.
No, sir.
Okay.
But I will take your direction this
Okay.
evening.
Next one, we talked about no smoking in the parks, and we, I think, Attorney Ford, you want to go and state what he shared with us last?
Yes, so after we looked into it, it was determined that the state legislature has preempted local municipalities from enforcing any regulations that are stricter than state law. And as a result, we cannot pass an ordinance that bans smoking in the city parks until the legislature returns that local option back to us.
Okay. I think you had a different idea with that.
Yeah, all I'm saying we can do is just do the honor system, go ahead and allow Mark, have some signs made up saying thank you for not smoking or vaping in our parks. We don't have to pass ordinance on it, just giving him the authority to go ahead and post a sign, go with an honor system.
And I'm assuming we couldn't even say no smoking, and we'd have to say please refrain from, or please no,
No, it's saying thank you for
Not
not
smoking,
smoking,
okay.
it's not saying not
I mean, it's just listed here, no smoking, but it's, like you said, it's more of a courtesy thing.
smoking and vaping, just say thank you for not smoking and vaping in our parks.
And you don't have an opinion on that? Going forward with that? Sure, that's something that would have to be on the agenda.
You need to vote on it.
Yeah, we'd have to vote on it next week. Okay. Next item is the Riverview Golf Course property auction, I think.
Well, I just need,
Maybe Ross has some stuff on that.
I did receive an email last week. I haven't had the opportunity to have a follow-up appointment. I did take a local realtor, local real estate firm here in town. There's not an auction firm in town, but I was recommended a couple of firms. I did reach out to them. And what they're recommending for us for this particular property is an internet auction. And so I'll look into, go ahead and setting that up for. And the feedback I would like from you is would you like to see the parameters of that auction before it's held, or is it such a priority that we go ahead and have the auctioneer schedule the auction at their purview?
we've been talking about this for what, four or 5 months. I'm in favor of just going ahead and doing an absolute auction on it, to get it back on our tax rolls so we can start collecting some money on it. But basically, the property is useless. I mean, it's just probably worth nothing, but we can get what we can out of it. And it's got a good tax appraisal on it, so I'm in favor of just doing an absolute auction on it, getting rid of it, getting on tax.
I guess you're asking, do we need to see the parameters of who you partner with to do the auction before you do it? Or-
Yeah, I just got the email with the firm's suggestion for the internet auction. I don't have a contract or an agreement with them. Let me get that and bring that back.
Okay, you can just bring that back, update next week.
I think I can have that. I think I can have that for you next week. So I
Okay.
didn't have that email of last week.
All right, before we get into the next one, the revocation of the livestock permit Green Acres, I'm gonna turn the floor over to Attorney Fry.
Yes, this has been discussed at length, and it's been investigated by myself and Travis Gray. And in my opinion, this council does not have the authority to issue the permit. That lies solely with the health officer of the city, Travis Gray, and therefore this council cannot revoke that permit. There is a judicial process that any of the citizens of Green Acres that consider this property to be a nuisance can follow. And at this stage, there's no action that needs to be taken by this council other than to direct the city attorney to file a lawsuit if they so choose. But I believe that we would be on shaky standing to bring that lawsuit unless it was brought in the name of individual citizens who are affected by the property. And if that's the direction the council wants to take, they can instruct me to solicit those plaintiffs, and then I can update you on the progress of the litigation as it moves forward. But that is really as far as this council is able to take that.
Allow me to fast forward it a little bit. If we ever put this problem to rest, can we take action that will prevent it from ever happening again?
Yes, we, at our last workshop, talked about revising the ordinance. The ordinance that we have currently on the books it's terribly vague. And
It's ludicrous is what it is.
And there are several model ordinances the manager, Ross, and I have looked at that we would be more than happy to bring to this council for consideration and adoption that would set very reasonable restrictions on the keeping of livestock in the city limits.
And that's a discussion we need to have going forward.
Yes.
Most. Setting something in place like you said, so.
Well, I think that everybody in the city, not just the people sitting here, but people out there all over this town, are concerned about what may happen later on down the road. And that's just something we've got to take care of. We overlooked it, it slipped up on us, we made a mistake. Somebody made a mistake. And we just can't ill afford to have that happen again.
But, Attorney Fry, what's your opinion if we was to file a lawsuit at the city council? Is that setting a precedent in the future for other residents and citizens do the same thing? Ask the city to.
Yes, because you have to always be, when you're taking on an expense like that that is designed to solely benefit a small group of citizens, there's always that risk. But the greater risk here is whether the city is technically even able to bring that suit in its own name, or if they would be basically footing the bill to bring the suit in the name of private citizens.
Can I ask a question?
Mayor?
It's really a quick question. Did you all issue a permit?
We did not. We did not.
No.
The city did not issue? Okay.
There was a permit issued there several years ago. There was a.
By the city council?
No, not by the city council.
Okay.
By the city health officer who has the authority to instruct the city recorder to issue those permits after investigating the circumstances of the application. And that was done at the request of several citizens at the time. And so he has investigated the circumstances, and the circumstances have not deviated from the permit.
He's within the limits of the permit.
Okay. Can't he revoke the permit without any?
Well, at such time that the investigation was done, it had not been.
Right.
But quite frankly, I will tell you that he was called and told, come and look. And when you call somebody and say, we're gonna be down and check you out Monday, it's pretty stupid not to be in line when you get there.
And I mean, the matter can constantly be reevaluated. All we need are for the affected citizens to continue to contact the city anytime they see an animal running at large, anytime they observe foul odors or noises. Those are all grounds to revoke the permit. But as of right now, we have not been provided with that information.
And keep in mind, as Attorney Price said, any private citizen there they could have already filed a lawsuit, and they can do it on their own. They don't need us to do it.
Understood, I was just wondering if you all were the ones who
We did not issue
did
it.
the permit.
The sad issue is our hands are tied. There's not a lot we can do.
I would like to add something, I put this on the agenda. In our city municipal code, it's section 11-502, section D, this should take care of the problem if we start enforcing it. The keeping of any animal, bird or fowl, which by causing frequent or long continued noises shall disturb the comfort or repose of any person in the vicinity. That's enough right there to take care of this problem, and I'm gonna encourage we start enforcing this code. Even if we have to cite people into court to get it taken care of, let's go ahead and fix it. We've been laying this on the table for 2 months now, and it's time to get it fixed.
So we've heard the legal opinion of our city
Well,
attorney.
that's opinion, but this is a municipal code that we need to enforce.
Any other discussion?
Chris, why are you saying we cannot enforce this municipal code?
No, you can. That's, I think that's commonly referred to as the barking dog ordinance. And if we get enough calls, then we can take action.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
So I encourage, if you hear the roosters crowing or goats, start calling the cops and let them write citations.
How many more calls do we have to make than we already had?
It's just time to fix it. I mean, it's really good.
Just Saturday, his ducks was over on my property, which I took pictures
At the
of.
window.
They've been up there half the
But we
night.
keep putting this off every month, and it's creating havoc for the people of Green Acres, and it's time to fix it.
I agree. It's like causing havoc for about 3 families that won't let nothing go.
Okay.
He's had those go for 9 years.
That's fine.
And this been
That's
on
fine.
there.
Let's fix the problem.
We've discussed it, and our attorney has given us legal advice,
All right.
and we will.
And
we'll
they
give
are
that
support
advice.
goats, and I do have a letter in the medical association, it's done speak to.
I encourage our police chief to start, when he gets a call, start issuing citations, and let's get rid of this problem.
Well,
Simple.
they've been there about 12 times on the dogs and everything.
Next
Just
item,
saying,
we're gonna move on to the next item, is the renaming of
people do everything.
a section of Cedar Street. I think
And
this
Mr.
is.
Mayor, I'm gonna have to table that. We're gonna get a fire
Okay.
company together.
Okay, so that's gonna be tabled, okay. Next item, home grant. I think Councilman Brewster had that on.
Yeah, I've been working with Ty on this. What this is, Doug and Shannon Rucker, he's the youth minister at Bethany Baptist Church. They've been in this city for a long time. They received a home grant 9 years ago. And when they received this grant, the city had to go put a lien on it in order for them not to sell it. Well, they're trying to refinance this home, and the finance company says with the city on the top of the loan, they can't refinance it. All I'm asking is this city council to agree to go to the bottom of the line, second claim, and let them get this loan. And they're doing it for property improvement. So it's a win-win situation. They're either going to build a garage or buy the property that the city has a lien on next door for $15,000. So either way we go, we're going to win on it. And it's going to help Doug and Shannon out.
Any discussion from council?
I think we do have to vote on it.
That would have to come
The
up.
document you would agree to is a subordination agreement. And I believe it was the year 2012, this household accepted a home grant from the city. It's approximately $80,000. It's forgiven over time, over 15 years, 1/15 per year. Quick math says that's 7 years. So most of that balance still exists, and it's $80,000. Most of that balance is there. And by signing a subordination agreement, you're agreeing to move that balance into second position behind
Yes.
what would be their new mortgage company. It's an assumption of risk, essentially.
Especially if they were to sell the property.
Well, they can't sell it. If they sell it, I think we go to us.
Well, not for the second.
If there is a foreclosure, you'd be second in line to the proceeds of that sale.
That's
If
what,
they're
yeah.
for-
So that's the risk involved.
Manager Ross, do we know as the administrators of that program and not the actual holder of the funds, do we have the authority to subordinate, or do we have to go that through Nashville, or?
In my preliminary review, and I'll share this document with you, Chris, it's a deed of trust, and along with the promissory note that carries the provisions. We do have the discretion to do it, but I will run that document back past you ahead of the meeting.
Okay.
I would like to see this expedited because we're kind of in a hold mode right now. So if we can vote on it Monday, I'd appreciate it. Meeting.
Okay, last item is municipal building signage, visibility, and I think that's,
Take that off.
okay. I think that's been discussed.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Councilmember Dixon has an item on the agenda. Transfers and promotions.
This is something that I've talked with Jason and Ty about ever since I've been on council. And what it applies to is our employees in our city departments and our utility departments being able to bid on jobs that have been put on the board. And what I propose here is not actually concrete, but it's something that we can go by to take a look at and work upon for the employees to be able to bid on these jobs and get an opportunity to be talked with about moving from one job to another. And it also talks about once you have become a working foreman or a salaried employee or a department head, you won't be able to bid on downplaying your jobs back into the hourly bidding procedure. But these positions is up to be talked about, to be taken out of whether they're a salary position or whether they're hourly position. So this is something we're going to be working on for the next month or two to be able to give the employees opportunity to bid on jobs and warrant them the new jobs.
There's no action needs to be taken on that, you just share it with everyone.
Yes. Just sharing with everyone to make it liable to be worked on.
A lot of that, I think, was also covered in our personnel rules and regulations that we covered last month that we voted on.
This would be an amendment to those personnel rules and regulations.
If it's passed by council, it'll be amendment to that. Any questions for Councilmember Dixon on that? Okay, the next item, before we get into the next item, I'd like to turn over to Attorney Brian first.
Well, this was put on at the request of Councilmember Bivens. I just want to point out that we were served with notice today of potential litigation stemming from some messages that have been distributed among, have been turned over to the city manager, and I would just caution the council from making any public statements based off of those messages that could be seen to paint an individual in a false light. So with that, that's really all I have to say.
Okay, and I think everyone has been given that notice.
That notice.
Okay. So, Councilmember Bivens, with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, well, they didn't know what I was intending on saying on here. There's been a lot of talk, and I want to clear that up. There was some information that was given to me. That information I turned over to the comptroller's office because I didn't know what to do with it at the point. The comptroller's office has information. I am not allowed to discuss that information that was given. I did have a meeting with Mr. Ross. I felt we got a lot out in the open, and I felt better after that meeting. I don't know if that was mutual, evidently, but that's okay. I felt better after that meeting. So here's, there's a lot of talk, employees are talking, citizens are talking. Just want to caution you on those things because there's a lot of good people involved, a lot of speculation involved, and just be cautious, don't spread rumors, it's not good, okay? Like I said, that information is being looked into. If there's anything to come out of it, it will be brought before us, and that's where I want to leave it. So I will say this much. What I can tell you is we, as council members, as the mayor, city manager, you have a right to speak with us. Tell us if you're not happy about something. Just like you all have done today with addressing the dumpster issue, that's perfect. That's exactly what is supposed to happen. That's how it's supposed to happen. Okay, if you don't like something we're doing, let us know. If there's an issue on the agenda that you're concerned with, let us know. Call us, reach out to us. That's what we're here for, okay? That's why we were elected. Let us know. What you cannot do is you cannot harass. You cannot stalk. You cannot intimidate. You can't do those things, okay? Reach out to us, let us know you don't like it, but you cannot do certain things to people, no matter whether we're elected or not, okay? I'm open to talking to anyone. Tried to reach out to a couple of you, but that was never fell through. And would have liked to have talked to several of you on the situations that some of you all are here for. Like I said, a lot of information getting out. I've heard it's come back around to me. It's not 100% true. Getting some lies about some stuff. So let's keep all the talk down to a minimum. If there's anything to be done from it, it will come out. Okay? But until then, I just kind of want to end the speculation on it. It's being looked into, I promise. And I'm sorry that that's all I can give you right now. I don't want to take our word for that.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Bivens. Councilmember Ross, do you have anything else under other?
No, sir.
Councilman Denton, do you have anything else?
No.
Councilmember Bivens, or Dixon?
No.
Councilmember Brewster?
I do want to say, we've got some good things going on in this city, and we really don't need a bunch of crap, I'll call it, to try to tear this thing down. We got paving going on, Hutch is coming down, we got a business coming in Center 75. Let's keep this thing moving forward. Let's not drag it down. Everybody's doing a great job.
Councilmember Bivens, do you have anything?
No.
One thing I just, in closing, I'll be making several appointments next month, or next week, for this month, for the different committees. So they'll be coming up next week, several of those. One of those will be our Loudon Utility Board Chairman, and I plan on appointing Chairman Campbell. I think he's done an outstanding job, and I think he's the right man for that job. So I'll be bringing that up too. Sure, Dr. Guy. We'll give you 30 minutes.
I apologize, I was here earlier, and is it okay if I talk about the commercial trash
Yes,
thing?
sure is.
Okay, I apologize for coming out of order here. I actually left, I just found out about it about 2 hours ago. I appreciate John, you let me know. I heard part of what John had to say, and what Bo had to say, and some others had to say. And I would echo their sentiments and their concerns. I got the highway home and was able to come back to say a couple of things. Have great respect for everybody on this council, great respect. I just, there's people that are small businessmen in this community that have been here a long time. I've been